I think so.
Hi, Arsenia. It's good to see you too. I know we've been communicating by email, so it's nice to meet you.
Excellent. Okay, well, it's 7:01. Let's get started. Never too early to start. Well, it's 1 minute late actually. So it's October 20th, and I'll call our general meeting to order. First, I'd like to introduce Armando Ramirez. He is our Spanish interpreter for this evening, and he will give directions on how to get into the interpretation services. Armando, you have to unmute yourself.
I was just going through my whole monologue and then muy buenas tardes a todos. Soy Armando Ramírez, voy a ser el intérprete el día de hoy. Comenzamos esta reunión por parte de Ms. Del Balso. Por favor, abajo de la pantalla ustedes van a ver dónde está el globo. Opriman en ese globo y después opriman en el idioma español. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Ms. Del Balso.
Thank you, Armando. So to start out the meeting, I'm going to share my screen with you. And these are the minutes from last month's meeting on September 22nd, 2020. I'll give everybody a moment to review the minutes, and then we'll approve those before we get started with our presentation. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from September 22nd?
I move to approve the minutes from September 22nd. This is Anne.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
I will second, and this is Lori, or Esther too, so either one.
Thank you, Lori. Esther raised her hand. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the September 22nd minutes, vote now. The poll is up. And we'll just let that run through so everyone can vote. Okay. The minutes from September 22nd general meeting have been approved. Thank you. Okay. Tonight, we're going to have a discussion about mental wellness during the pandemic. Raising teens is a very challenging job, especially during this time. It's really hard with them not being able to hang out with their friends. And we have Diana de Guzman here, who is our lead wellness counselor at Mateo High. She's very accessible. I know my own daughter, my oldest, has met with her and had a lot of really good meetings with her, very engaging. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Diana. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. So I will also be sharing my screen for our presentation. Is that okay? Okay, perfect. All right. Give me 1 second. Oops. Can you see my screen? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today. As Sandy mentioned, I am part of the San Mateo High School Wellness team, And today we'll be talking about wellness during uncertain times or during a pandemic or during this COVID-19 that we're experiencing right now. So I'll be doing an introduction of myself and my experience here at San Mateo. I'll also be talking about wellness support that we have at San Mateo High School. In addition, we'll be talking about emotional and physical health of parents and teens. I'll be giving some tips for supporting your teens during distance learning. We'll talk about social connection, and then at the end, we'll take any questions that you might have. So hi, I'm Diana De Guzman. I'm the lead wellness counselor at San Mateo High School. I've actually been working at San Mateo High School since 2007. Back in 2007, my role was as the school safety advocate, and it was pretty much just me as the wellness counselor at that time, providing support to students. And I have a lot of experience and knowledge about the San Mateo High School community and the San Mateo community as well as connections and contacts with resources in the community. In 2016, the wellness program was born, and I joined as a wellness counselor. And I'm currently the lead wellness counselor for a team of 4. We have 4 wellness counselors as the largest school in the San Mateo Union High School District. And I've been the lead wellness counselor since the beginning of this year, 2020. I have my contact information on here. I'll have it at the end as well. You can reach me by email or phone if you have any questions after this presentation. So the San Mateo Wellness Program is basically to provide access to mental health services and supports to all students. We recognize that it's important for our students to be academically strong as well as socio-emotionally strong. And our goal is to help them be successful during their school day with us. We have them for 4 years, and so we want to make sure that they're prepared as they go out into the world to have all the skills to be able to cope. So currently we are offering drop-in support services. What we're calling it right now is telehealth, meaning it is by Zoom or phone meeting. And if I click on here under drop-in, we do have a schedule once page. If you go to the San Mateo High School website, you'll find us under counseling and then the mental wellness or mental health or wellness page. And you'll find our schedule once page for drop-in hours. Students can make drop-in appointments with us up to 24 hours in advance. As you can see, we have all our wellness counselors on here. We have Miss Elena, Miss Wendy, Miss Nancy, and myself. My team is composed of associate marriage and family therapist, as well as associate social workers. All of us are bilingual. I speak Tagalog, as well as English. My colleague speaks Spanish and English, and then Miss Nancy also speaks Portuguese as well. And so I like to pride our wellness team as being a very diverse group, just as diverse as our community. So we also offer individual counseling, and that's up to 12 sessions of individual counseling. For students to be able to utilize our short-term counseling model, they are able to go to their academic counselor and ask to be referred, or if upon dropping in to check in with a wellness counselor, they can also ask for individual counseling sessions. We also have student groups. Right now we are offering 2 groups, one for coping skills, as well as another for healthy relationships during COVID-19 or distance learning. And what those look like is just a group of students meeting together to talk about different topics with a wellness counselor to help provide that support and engagement with the group. We also provide crisis response and post-intervention. Crisis response looks like, our wellness team assessing for safety concerns, And postvention looks like providing support after an incident. For example, a few months ago, we did have a former student pass away. And so what we did as a wellness and counseling team was to identify any students that might need some grief support and some check-ins, and we divided them up and provided resources to students and families. We also have our Stanford Teen Mobile Health Van. If you've ever been on campus, they normally park in front of the Performing Arts Center, and it is an actual van. They have a number of resources. They provide immunizations, sporting, physical exams, sensitive healthcare needs like pregnancy tests, family planning options. They also refer for mental health counseling. They provide medications. They do free COVID-19 testing for students and families. They have a pretty extensive team. There's a nurse practitioner, a nutritionist, a social worker. And so it's a very valuable resource for our community. And they visit us about once a month. And for any appointments, you will find this on our website, but you can also reach out to a wellness counselor and academic counselor, and we can help connect you for an appointment or your child for an appointment. We also have, under the wellness umbrella, we have the Toupee program, and what that does is provide support for tobacco use or substance use. They are wellness counselors that are trained to provide that level of support. They work with students to either reduce or stop vaping, work with students regarding substance use or marijuana use. And then we also provide an alternative to suspension program. And what that looks like is students that may have a discipline issue, rather than being suspended for a school day, they'll be recommended for an alternative to suspension, where they'll talk about behaviors, choices, and offering some insight into what happened so that they can move forward and make better choices. So as you can see, wellness program covers a lot of support for a number of our students. And then of course we have family support. In the spring, we were able to work with a concierge service called Care Solace. And what Care Solace provides is a free concierge service to connect students and families to outside counseling. They also provide the same service to district and staff members. And so we really believe in their work. I don't know if anyone has tried to look for a therapist for their child, but it can be, quite a complicated system to navigate. There's insurance companies and figuring out which therapist is a good therapist and, who covers what. Is there a copay? Is there a super bill? And so a lot of that can be really overwhelming. And then also having to cold call, therapists that have openings and availabilities. And what this service does is helps, families access counseling. It helps, find out about availability, insurance, they're vetted therapists. And so they're a really good resource to us. What academic counselors and wellness counselors are doing right now are what we call warm handoffs, in that if families are interested in utilizing Care Solace, we'll take down their information and contact info, and then Care Solace will take it from there and reach out to families and coordinate. If there are families out there who maybe have some financial constraints, right now I understand is a difficult time for a number of families, or maybe they don't have health insurance, that's okay too. Care Solace will help link families to low cost or sliding scale fees, because we want to make sure that everyone's supported. And so I really, really like this resource. And then again, family support in terms of the Stanford Mobile Health Van. We have parent education. There's been town hall meetings. I know that there was one last month with Miss Nancy Hans Chavez and Miss Torres, who is the manager of wellness. And then we also have Parent Connect. And Parent Connect is a parenting resource Right now, they're offering 2 family support programs. I know I sent this information to Arsenia, so I'm hoping she shared it with you guys. If not, I'm happy to share it again. But it's a parent group facilitated by wellness counselors. We have one in English and Spanish. And they talk about, parent education. I know I have 3 kids. I was never given a book on what to do when your child is a teenager and when they're in high school, much less what to do when they're in a pandemic and how that works out. And so I really like the fact that we offer this. It's totally free to all our families. It is an open group, meaning that people can join at any time. So there'll be a number of Parent Connect groups offered throughout this year. And then Ms. Torres shared with me today that we're offering, or will be offering in the next few weeks, I'm sure you'll hear more about, and I can pass on to Sandy and Arsenia, a parent education series. So it'll be a number of workshops that you'll be able to utilize. And so stay tuned about that. I'm hoping I'm not going too fast for the interpreter. So now we'll go into the emotional and physical health of teens and parents. So as you can see, statistics right now is that 1 in 6 of every youth experience a mental health disorder each year. And as you can imagine right now with current circumstances, we have the coronavirus, we have teens that are distance learning, we have, the freshman year that a lot of us didn't expect, right? In addition to graduations that didn't happen in person. And so there's a lot of, loss and grief, I would say, that's accompanying, where we're at right now. In addition to, the climate, what's going on environmentally in California, as well as in our country. And so it is a lot of stress. And so I want you guys to think about, having all of that happen. And then on top of that, being a teenager, very difficult, very complicated. And so a lot of teens, are presenting as being down, disappointed, or moody. And I think what's important that I want to emphasize is just being able to notice the difference between, what might be a normal reaction that a lot of us are experiencing, both youth and adults, and, what is different, what's more extreme, what is something that you need to pay attention to. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. And so I want to bring your attention to what the signs are. Obviously, not all stress is bad stress. There's also eustress that helps you be motivated. Some of that can happen. But, there's also stress that probably isn't helpful. And so what that might look like with your youth might be, complaints of headaches, stomach aches, sleep issues, maybe negative changes in behavior. You might see some difficulty with concentrating. You might see some anxiety, excessive worry, problems with, focusing. And then of course, there might be signs of depression that you need to be aware of. And that might look like, being irritable, frustrated, not being interested in the things they normally were interested in, isolating themselves from their family or from friends. Of course, thoughts of suicide and death need more immediate intervention. And then, any changes in sleep or appetite. What we're finding is that a lot of the protective factors for stress, anxiety, and depression is a positive family unit, social support, including online, community support, and physical activity. And we'll talk more about that. But I did want to talk about these signs so that you as we are all spending a lot more time at home, a lot of our parents are working remotely. Students are also working remotely. And so that can also raise a level of stress. And so what can you do as a parent? Being present, connecting with your child, we're finding that having that strong connection can help protect against depression. And then, of course, listening. So listening doesn't mean that you solve the problem, doesn't mean that you have the best advice. It may not mean that you have all the answers. It may mean just validating, you know, how they're feeling right now, what they're experiencing. You know, they're experiencing a number of losses that a lot of us, you know, when we were young, didn't experience. And just kind of understanding the frustration that they're experiencing. Some of that might be, you know, not being able to be with their friends or being disappointed. And so just acknowledging that stress and saying that you're there for them. Maybe when they're ready to talk, you know, you're here. And so those are some things that we think might be helpful. Of course, asking, you know, what do you need from me right now as a parent? You know, what can I do to support you? That opens up that conversation to allow them to ask for that help. And then we're also thinking about healthy habits and creating routines. What we're finding is that most teens need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Currently, a lot of students are only getting about 15. I know that when I was working with students during shelter in place, a lot of sleep routines, you know, kind of went upside down, more awake at night. But as much as possible, if kids can come up with a sleep routine, that is very helpful. We need sleep to be able to focus and function. And then of course, you know, with sleep, we also need to eat the right foods. We need the fuel for our body to be able to do well. We need that nutrition. And then of course, managing our stress. So as parents, you know, you are the model in the home of how to handle stress, right? A lot of times kids learn how to manage stress from seeing how their parents manage the stress. And so practicing healthy coping skills can, you know, trickle down to your children. That might look like different things for you. You know, maybe that's a walk in the park with your child. Maybe that's physical activity. Maybe that's yoga. It could be, you know, relaxation exercises or muscle relaxation or practicing mindfulness. We currently have a resource called Atlas app, which allows students to also journal. And it's an application that they download onto their phone. It has some mindfulness practice. It has some journaling. It has different things to kind of help them kind of calm down and utilize those coping skills. And then of course, you know, us as parents, self-care, self-care, self-care. One of the things that I like to tell parents is, you know, this is not unlike an airplane when you get on and the stewardess says, you know, if something happens, you need to put that oxygen mask on first as a parent and then to your child. Make sure you take care of yourself. That might look like talking to your peers, your friends. You know, I'm glad that you have this group, reaching out to family. It might also look like, you know, going for a walk, listening to music, going for a drive, running an errand. No matter how small, please remember to take care of yourself. Thank you, Armando. Yes, ma'am.
Thing real quick, Diana. So if anybody has any questions, we're taking questions in a form right now. If you
Awesome.
chat, you can just input your questions on the forum. I've already got about 6 that have come in, and
oh my gosh. Okay.
We'll have questions for you at the end.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I'm like not even thinking about the chat, so I'm so glad that you're thinking about that.
Managing that for you.
Thank you.
Save some time at the end.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. All right. All right, so now we'll talk about some tips that you can utilize to support your child during this distance learning. I myself have 3 distance learners in my home as I work remotely. And so we've kind of created our own schedule. And so I can definitely attest to, utilizing some of these tips. So one of which is sticking to a schedule. Sticking to a schedule looks like, creating a daily routine. When I meet with students, I talk about, hey, get ready for the day, brush your teeth, get dressed, fix your hair, almost as if you're going in person, right, to school, even though you're not. But making that difference between, your pajamas and like getting ready for school can kind of get you into the mindset for learning. And then there's also setting up an effective workspace. I'm going to acknowledge that there might be some families that don't have a workspace that they can utilize that's, separated from the rest of the house. Do your best to make it a place that's less distractions, a space where students can, take notes, have something, have proper lighting. And then if you have a space that's, a desk that's clear, all your supplies ready, I think that helps a lot as well. And then there's supporting executive functioning. So what that means for parents is discussing with your teen, how they might need you, because they will need you, even though they will not acknowledge that. And so they may need you to help remind them about assignments, time management, breaking bigger assignments into smaller chunks, developing efficient study skills. And so I think what's important is helping them start to create those practical skills to study that they can use to organize and start meeting deadlines. And so this is something that you can start preparing them for, because they're going to need this in the outside world. In addition, observing their strengths. Right now, our students are overwhelmed. They are probably feeling down on themselves because, it is distance learning. And so it's not an ideal situation. But, observing their strengths might mean, hey, I never knew how great you were at technology. I see that you're organizing your calendar. So no matter big or small, please acknowledge what you're seeing that's positive that they're doing right now, and building from there. And then there's also thinking about your expectations. I think when I say that, it's about understanding maybe fall of 2019, your child would have been thriving, had, all A's in all their classes, and it's 2020 fall and they're not doing as well as what you saw a year ago. And, knowing that there's a lot going on right now and kind of recalibrating, what those expectations are. A lot of what I'm saying when I'm meeting with students is, try your best. And I think we're all trying our best, even us as parents, we're trying our best. And, that might look like different things for different people. And, learn about what's going well, right? Sitting down with them, show me your Canvas. What's going well there? What are some assignments that you're doing well in? And then what are some things that you're having trouble with? I think sometimes when we log in as parents into Canvas, all we see is, that percentage or those points going up or down, but maybe making it more of a conversation with your child to see, where they're at and where you can support them. And that might also involve reaching out to an academic counselor and, setting up a meeting or having them meet with your child to figure out, what they can do or how they can support them. And then I want to go on to the next point, which is recognizing and avoiding reoccurring arguments. Again, a lot of us are at home right now. Maybe you're seeing your child more than you've ever seen them before. Parents are all home together. And so communication is very vital to have a healthy household. So, recognizing and avoiding those reoccurring arguments. For example, those reoccurring arguments about school, assignments, chores, thinking about, is there something that you're expecting your teen to do that might be too hard for them, or something that they're just not wanting to do? And those are two different things. And so if it's something that's too hard for them, how can you make that manageable for them? How can you negotiate or break it down into smaller tasks? And if it's something that's a little more than that, and it's more about them not wanting to do it, how can you overcome that discomfort in them not wanting to do it? And how can you reward the behavior, even if it's small, for them to get those things done that they probably don't want to do? I want to take a moment and acknowledge social connection right now. A lot of teens as well as adults are feeling very isolated. And what we're finding is that, youth are very creative. They're figuring out ways to connect. Actually, when Shelter in Place started, that was one of the main points that our wellness team was discussing in our check-ins is, how are you staying connected? How are you staying socially connected to your support system? How are you connecting with your peers? And so we realize, how important this is to have a healthy, to be healthy. So a lot of teens are reporting, being in virtual hangouts, Zooming with their friends. It could be they're having watch parties where they're watching movies together. But making sure that, you have a conversation with your teen, like, how are you staying connected to your friends? And if you're not staying connected, how can you get connected? So some of the things that San Mateo High School is doing is we're obviously, offering club meetings by Zoom. Some sports practices are still going on. Counselors are meeting in groups to offer support. And then wellness is also offering wellness groups to offer support and provide that connection to students. This, I understand, is going to be an ongoing conversation as time goes on and as distance learning progresses, is how we can connect students and help them feel connected to not just our campus and our teachers, but also to each other. And so this is something that we are definitely discussing, in our admin meetings, in counselor meetings. So I just want you to know that we do recognize how important that is. And so I do want to I want to go back to a slide that we talked about earlier, and that's about self-care. I'm hoping that in the comfort of your home that you can take this moment. It takes 5 minutes of your time, very, very easy, to just listen to this meditation. I think I'm hoping that it'll give you some time to just relax, because I know there's a lot going on right now. And so I'll go ahead and to start that. And then Armando, if you could just translate the meditation for me, that'd be great.
I'm Dr. Robert Eric Dinnenberg, and I'll guide you through from start to finish.
And can you hear that? Armando, can you hear it?
Mindfulness is present
Perfect.
moment attention without judgment. For this meditation, we'll attend to our feet with mindfulness, and then we'll move on to the breath in the abdomen. And then to finish, we'll return to the feet. So let's get started. With mindfulness, start to observe your feet. Answer this question to yourself. What does it feel like to have my feet on the ground in this present moment? Explore this present moment experience of your feet. You might notice what it feels like to have your feet in your shoes, in your socks. You might observe different points of pressure presenting to different parts of your feet. And you might notice temperature. Simply observe whatever you notice There's no right or wrong, no good or bad. Whatever you notice is okay. And anything that takes you away from this noticing is a distraction. Any thought about the future or the past, any worry or expectation, any internal dialogue or judgment, notice and let go. With forgiveness, with patience, notice and let go. Notice and let go. And shepherd your attention back to your feet. And when you're ready, let go of your feet and shift your attention to your abdomen. Here we find the home base for mindfulness of breathing. Observe what it feels like to breathe in this present moment. Explore and discover your own way of noticing your own breath. You might observe a rising of your abdomen as you breathe in, and a falling as you breathe out. Your own way of noticing your own breath might include registering an expanding feeling as you breathe in, and a deflating feeling as you breathe out. Ride the waves of your breath with your attention. Anything that takes you away from your breath is a distraction. Any thought about the future or the past, any worry or internal dialogue, any expectation or judgment, notice and let go. Notice and let go. With forgiveness, notice and let go. And time again, shepherd your attention back to your breath. Back to answering this very simple question. What does it feel like to breathe in this present moment? And when you're ready to transition out of the meditation, return to your feet. This time there can be some movement in your toes, and notice what it feels like to be moving your toes in this present moment. And let this movement transition you out of the meditation. So as your fingers are moving, and if you wish, your body's stretching, you can transition fully out of the meditation. Thank you.
So that is actually, thank you, Armando, for translating that meditation for me. That was really awesome. I actually use this with some of my students. Mindfulness practice is about, being present in the moment, not thinking about the past, not worrying about the future, but just being present right now. And I've noticed that it can really help students with anxiety. It can also help with, students who have a hard time with just like focusing. I encourage students to use this before an exam, before a stressful presentation, just to kind of ground themselves. And if that felt like a long time for you, that was only 5 minutes. And so it's really, really easy. It's something that's easy to find on YouTube. If you type mindfulness practice, there might be some videos that you can find that might be helpful for you to utilize to encourage your own self-care. But this brings us to the end of our presentation. Again, my name is Diana de Guzman. Thank you so much for having me. You have my email and you have my phone number. And I think Sandy, whenever you're ready to hop back in, to let me know what those questions are. And I'm hoping that I have answers. And if I don't, I'll try to see if I can get answers for your next meeting, and so that you'll have them.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed that. So questions, let me find my sheet. I tried to put it over here. Now there it is. Okay. So what if a student needs more than the 12 sessions that is available to them?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. So let's say a student is offered 12 sessions and they do get to their 11th session, 12th session. At that point, a therapist may reach out to the family and either engage them in a conversation about other resources off campus, or maybe transitioning them to an outside therapist while still being a touchstone at school. And so it doesn't mean at 12 sessions, we're cutting them off, that's it, you're on your own. We want to make sure that they're in good hands to be supported. But you're right, there are going to be some situations where 12 sessions, which is actually, if you think about it, is about 3 or 4 months, may not be enough. Sometimes we don't have that information at the beginning of the 12 sessions. Sometimes we've met with a student a number of times in drop-in, and we realize that, hey, this is going to take a longer term care, or maybe it's better served outside of school. Some of those situations might be, if a student is exhibiting symptoms of PTSD or eating issues, or maybe more severe mental health issues. We will refer those cases out or students out, and will of course help families get connected to those resources. Obviously, we don't diagnose students, but we also, make sure to do an assessment to see if what we're able to offer is going to fit their needs. Does that answer that question?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, the next question is, my child is not feeling as motivated to work as hard as she usually does. How do I encourage her?
Got it. This is something that a lot of people are experiencing. I am also, wrestling with that in my own household, so I totally get it. I think, definitely starting that conversation with them about motivation and what those obstacles are. I think also engaging academic counselors, they may also see if there's any supports that they can offer, or even, talk to teachers and see if, maybe there's some things that the teacher can do to, reinvigorate that motivation, or engage the student. Sometimes students won't benefit from distance learning just because that's just not how they learn. And so if teachers know, where they're not understanding material, and so that might be impacting motivation, or is it maybe more about anxiety and presentations, or showing their camera, or comparing themselves to others. I feel like academic counselors as well as wellness, we can, check in with your student, but I think starting that conversation, and then of course, talking about, praising them about what they're able to do so far within their ability, and then figuring out ways to reward them. What are some things that they do look forward to, and how can we tie that with, school in some way?
Great. I'm going to combine the next question because there was another one asked similarly. So it's, my child is feeling Zoom fatigue. How do we get for him to engage in outside activities to get away from Zoom? And the other question that's very similar is, my child is worn out mentally with Zoom and distance learning. What can we as parents do to support them?
Ooh, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I am also zoomed out sometimes at the end of the day if you're working and you're zooming all day. So I can totally relate to that feeling. I think if we can get them engaged in the outdoors, taking a walk outside, as well as taking breaks during class, sometimes even go, not even looking at the screen, taking, looking away, and can help them kind of like, it's hard because our classes are an hour and a half. And so that is a long time to stay engaged. But I know that teachers do realize that Zooming is hard. You got to pay attention. You got to focus on all these different things. And so, I would encourage them, hey, reach out to your teacher, ask them, hey, can I take a break real quick? Like, my eyes are hurting. I've had a student say that to me in a session, like, my eyes are burning. Can I take a break? And I'm like, of course, I totally get it. We're all human. So letting teachers know, hey, can I take a break? I'm going to, I just need to relax my eyes for a moment, and then I'm going to re-engage. I think also, seeing what are some things that they can, do outside. Maybe that's going for a walk. Maybe that's running an errand, obviously staying safe, wearing a mask and all that stuff. But yeah, talking about, maybe they have some ideas of what they can do. It might not look exactly what it looked like, back in February, but, it might, something similar to that would be good.
Yeah, I know my daughter was having headaches, so I actually got these blue blocker eyeglasses that she wears all day long, and she doesn't have the headaches anymore. She's still exhausted and needs a nap, but at least she doesn't have the headaches.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. I just ordered some on Amazon.
Yeah.
So, blue glasses, it's amazing how much, just the light that's coming in from your screen can impact, your way. Oh, yes. What glasses are these? Yeah, they're called blue light glasses.
Yeah, blue blocker.
So what they do is there's a light that comes from computer screens and cell phones that, after time and being on a screen creates fatigue, can also, make people have headaches. And so buying these glasses, I think there's some on Amazon that are, not too expensive, but it can definitely help with distance learning.
Yes. What would you suggest for a teen that has some social anxiety and is feeling isolated and lonely during the pandemic?
I would definitely suggest making an appointment with our San Mateo Wellness team for sure. We can help them kind of create a way to get involved or, practice some social skills. We have a group as well that we're starting to help with that. So I think, making an appointment, encouraging them to drop in, or you can even reach out to me and share a name with me. But there's also a number of ways to be connected socially right now that don't necessarily involve in person. I know that kids play, within reason video games, and that's a way for them to connect with others. There's also, clubs that are meeting at school, which create some sort of like a structure for them to meet new people. And then there's also groups that I know that a number of the counselors are doing. I think if they're in 11th grade, Ms. Zimmerman is offering kind of like a group to just get kids together. And so just any ways that they can kind of practice those social skills. And then also kind of, taking it easy on themselves. I'm already thinking, as we readjust to reopening, whenever that happens, knock on wood, she's not going to be the only one that's going to be dealing with kind of reconnecting socially as well. And so we're here to definitely help support that.
This is kind of a similar question. My student is having anxiety about being seen every day. She feels shy and would like to not be on camera all day long.
Okay. I don't blame her. I'm looking at the screen right now and a lot of us have our cameras off. So I think, that's not unusual, especially if you don't have what you have behind you as a teenager, like everybody's looking at me, they're looking at my room or they're looking at my living room or whatever. So I think it's not unusual to have that. Teachers are also understanding of students who have their cameras off. We also have to be careful because sometimes when people have their cameras off, especially students, there is a tendency to disengage and, not, be focused in on what the teacher is teaching. But if someone is experiencing that much anxiety that it's making them not want to log on, or it's preventing them from learning because it's creating so much anxiety, I think it's important for them to private chat their teacher or reach out to their academic counselor, and we're able to make either accommodations or help communicate to teachers that maybe they don't have their camera on, but they are engaged. And then we also talk to students like, what are some other ways that you can show engagement? Is that, chiming in a chat? Is it, asking your teacher a private message? Is it raising your hand? Is it doing a thumbs up? There's like so many ways to show engagement, but kind of going to the root of, what is creating that anxiety? Is it, the fact that people are seeing you? And then also knowing that as a teenager, you always think that people are looking at you, even when they're not. But I think, encouraging them to talk to their teachers, encouraging them to connect with their academic counselors or even wellness counselors, and we're able to kind of help them, negotiate that or figure out a way to engage and kind of push themselves, right? This is also a time that can be a time of growth, of pushing yourself to do things that you probably wouldn't normally do and know it's okay to do. I've had students who at first didn't like it, and then after a while they were like, it's okay, I'm used to it, so having that conversation, and if you need any support with that, please let me know. Oh, you're on mute, Sandy.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. What is the exact name for the Atlas app for mindfulness journaling?
Yes, I can put it in the chat actually. And then would it be helpful for me to send this to you, Sandy? And
Yeah,
then
if
you
you
can
want to
share
email
it?
it to me, I can actually post it on the PTO website along with some other information that I just got sent from Arsenio. So
Oh yeah, perfect.
we can post it all on our PTO website, which is on the San Mateo High School website. There's a link to get to the parent groups, and then just go to the PTO and it will be in there.
Okay, so what I'll do is sorry, I'm trying to see how I can get back into the Zoom.
Okay, and then we have 1, 2, 3.
Are there more?
Yeah, there's like 5
Oh.
more.
Okay.
I'll go on to the next one.
Yeah.
My child is an overachiever. Distance learning has been hard. How do I support my child mentally during COVID?
Okay. Thanks, Sandy. Well, I was kind of figuring out how to, so I have the Atlas app on the chat, but I will go ahead and send the presentation to Sandy as well. So the question is, my child is an overachiever.
Yes,
Go.
My child is an overachiever. Distance learning has been hard. How do I support my child mentally during COVID?
Yeah. So one of the things that I talked about in our presentation today is recalibrating, as parents, what our expectations are of our children. And, maybe in fall of 2019, they were getting great grades, and now maybe they're getting B's instead of A's, which they would have gotten back then. And I think also encouraging your child to recalibrate on, hey, are you trying your best right now? Or, acknowledging that this is not an ideal situation, right? It's not ideal to learn through your laptop, or ideal to learn without the support of your peers to be able to ask questions that maybe you might want the answers to, or to clarify. And so, having that conversation with your team of like, hey, as long as you're trying your best, that's what's important, and acknowledging that maybe your best now doesn't look like your best your junior year or your sophomore year or your freshman year. And I think what's validating to me is that a lot of our colleges are recognizing this, right? Like they're starting to get rid of certain testing requirements. I'm sure a lot of them realize that, this is a difficult time for a lot of students. And so what their best right now may not look like what their best is when they are feeling their best. And so I think having that conversation with them can be a valuable moment for you to just listen and validating, where they're at and what their frustration is, but also allowing them to give themselves permission to know like, hey, we know you're trying your best and that's what we expect. And, we're going to be here to support you.
So the next question is, my child is missing the energy at school and the opportunity to meet new friends. How do we support him or her?
Great. Yeah, definitely being on Zoom is a different energy, different atmosphere. I would encourage them to think about ways that they can be engaged. I have students who join meet clubs. And so I think every day there's a student bulletin that goes out about club meetings. Obviously, it's not the same thing. But this is also a time for them to be creative and, maybe connecting with other people isn't about them. Maybe it's about giving back. I have students who are also signing up to be peer tutors and are finding some positivity that comes out of that, of helping others get tutored or giving back to the community, working with some of the community resources that we have that are helping to give food to those who don't have it. And so there's it's not going to look like it looked, but at least, being engaged and being a part of other things can help them. Reaching out to admin and seeing if there's anything that they can be involved in. I'm sure there's something that we can do to encourage that. I know that leadership is trying to be creative as well about how to, create that energy, get students involved. And so, yeah, encouraging them to reach out would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that they were still doing some Spirit Week stuff like the colors this week. They all have to wear different colors.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to definitely keep some of the normalcy there, right?
Yeah. And that'll look like, everyone having the same color t-shirt on Zoom,
Yeah,
I guess, right?
Kind of cool to see that. Okay, so we have 2 more questions and then there's a suggestion. So I'm going to give you the first question, which is really a pretty big one. My junior currently sleeps at 2:30 a.m. and gets up at 8:50 for a 9 a.m. class. And this seems to be the daily routine. Would love some advice on how to help her to pull in her schedule at least to midnight or 12:30 a.m. She thinks that 6 to 7 hours is enough, and I am concerned that she needs a few more hours of sleep. Also feel like her daily routine has become so sedentary, and trying to encourage her to take a half-hour walk outside or even get on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Would love to get some ideas on how to incorporate daily exercise activity. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. Well, now you can say that you went to a presentation that said at least 8 hours of sleep. So it's not just coming from you as a parent. I think, when we talk to students about sleep, I know that is something that I talk about. Sleep hygiene is so important. I think it really helps them understand like, hey, maybe that's part of the reason why I can't focus. Maybe that's why I'm not motivated. Maybe that's why I'm irritable. Maybe that's why I'm moody. those are things, just to kind of remind them what the importance of sleep is, because that's the time for your brain to kind of recharge and shut down. And starting that process earlier on, right? Like, so don't expect that if you're in bed by 11:30, you're going to knock out by midnight. It might be, whatever that routine looks like for you. Maybe it's showering before bedtime. Maybe it's putting your cell phone far away from you on the other side of the room, so you're not thinking about, going on your phone and looking at social media, and then that keeps your brain awake. And then, that blue light also engages your brain and activates it. So talking about those things, exercise also does help with creating that sleepiness at nighttime. I mean, I don't encourage late night walks because that gets your adrenaline going and then it's hard to come down from there. But I think, a walk would be great. And I think that's where it kind of comes from families or parents to model that, right? Like, how can you model, hey, I've been on Zoom meetings all day. It's 5 o'clock or it's 4 o'clock. I'm going to take a walk. Let's go take a walk as a family, or let's go take a walk before dinner to kind of engage them and model that behavior for them so that they can see, how they can benefit. I would probably caution you in talking about how's school going? What are your grades like? What's going on? Because that makes it more of a stressful thing. But maybe just, taking the moment just to talk to them, or maybe don't talk, maybe just go for a walk and just see how that goes, and, checking in with them. So those are some things that I can suggest.
That's good advice. Thank you. Okay, next question is, my child gets so tired in between classes, she just doesn't have motivation anymore. And so she skips classes. How can we integrate more social fun activities for these kids? Suggestion, have fun class at 1:32 p.m. each day instead of regular class.
Got it. I'm here. So let me make sure I have that question correct, because I'm a visual person, but I'm imagining the question, Sandy, and it's, how can we make it more engaging so that kids aren't getting bored? Basically. I do want to let parents know that this is a conversation that we're having and working on as staff. So that, if you remember, our schedule before was 8 o'clock, right? And we start our day and we have a block schedule, and now it starts at 9. And so a lot of that 8 to 9 a.m. block, Monday through Friday, are about professional development and things that staff members and teachers can do to make the Zoom class more engaging. I actually went to something a few weeks ago to, help make presentations more engaging, kind of create like a virtual atmosphere that makes it more exciting for students to learn material. And so this is something that we're continuing to work on. So I guess what I want to say is, you may have teachers, just like if you were in person, that would be boring, right? And then you're also always going to have those teachers that are more engaging, and maybe, finding things that your child can be more excited about in that class and focusing on that, whatever that might be. But I do want parents to know that this is definitely something on the forefront that we're thinking about as staff, is how can we engage our students, in this platform of Zoom. So, and then I'm not really sure, I'm not really in charge of schedules. I think if, please reach out to admin if you have any suggestions about changes in schedules or, school days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all very new what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, we're kind of, building the ship as we go along, or building the airplane, as we go along. So, please understand, we're figuring it out too, and we're also, seeing the importance in that.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it seemed like in the spring everybody was complaining that we weren't getting enough. And now all I'm hearing is, oh my gosh, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, you're like, we need to balance this out.
The last question is really more of a suggestion,
Okay.
but it's could you please make the social groups for wellness compulsory?
Oh, I wish. Unfortunately, just like counseling, you have to be willing to do it, right? You have to be willing to engage. You have to be bought in. Otherwise, if it was mandatory, we're going to have students who don't want to be there, and they might make it uncomfortable for everyone else. But if we could make it mandatory, I would love that, because sometimes it's hard to get a group started. If there's any parents in this meeting tonight, or even on YouTube, if they watch this later on, who's interested in your child joining any of our groups, we have one for coping skills or healthy relationships, please reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat again. Please, email me. Obviously, groups are free. We'll try to make it during a class, non-class period, whether that's lunchtime or during support period. And then, if it's not a good fit for your child as far as being a group, that also gives us an opportunity to introduce ourselves to them and let them know what supports are available at school. So either way, I think it's a good introduction.
Thank you.
Oops.
Thank you so much.
Hold on. Let me fix that. I put my wrong email on there.
Oh.
SMU HSD.
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you, Diana. That was very informative and I think timely, right? I think we're all very tired and concerned about everybody's mental health going into more and more Zoom meetings after, we've all been telling our kids, get off your phones.
Yeah, we're like, okay, yonder. Now we're like, no, don't yonder. Now we want you to be on Zoom.
Anyway, I will be posting the video of this, the YouTube, because we did have this also on YouTube. So that will get posted on the website along with all the additional information you've given us. And you said you'll give us the slides also, so I can post that so they can review those?
Yes. Can I just email that to you, Sandy?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and then I'll get it to Bob and he'll put it up on our website.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Armando, for great translating.
Good job, Armando. I'm sure you did great.
Yeah, I pop in there every once in a while just to listen, and he's just going. So he's on it. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And our next meeting will be in January. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but I know I post it pretty often, and it is also on the website. Anyway, take care and everybody stay healthy.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for spending time with me, and thank you for taking time out of your day.